In this lesson, I'm going to talk about saving files within Photoshop. So say you wanted to save this design or whatever design you're working on. First, obviously, you would want to save it as a Photoshop document. So you would go to File and Save. And if you were going to save it as another document, you would go to Save As. So if you were going to save a document you would have to know the specific purpose that you're trying to save it out as. So if you have a few different options, now the main ones that you're going to be working with are going to be TIFF, which is for print, PNG, which generally has the capabilities of having a transparent background, which is also very important, and then of course a JPEG right here. So JPEG is the universal graphic image that you would save for web, for social media, whatever project you're trying to save it at. Most platforms and sites will accept JPEG. So that's sort of the universal graphical file format. Now TIFF holds layers, but generally it's for the print industry. So if you're going to, and what I mean when I say print, what I mean is, if you were just going to print a document, you would just go to File and Print, and whatever printer that you have associated either with the computer or your network. But when I say save for print, something that you're going to be putting in, say a brochure, a catalog, something like that, where you're going to be sending it to a printer and having it commercially duplicated for print, you would definitely want to use a TIFF document or TIFF file format. Now we do have GIFs. GIFs are an image format that you can use. Now it's generally, if you're going to use a raster or a vector graphic, those are the two choices when you're saving out an image. If you're going to be using a rasterized image, which is this graphic here, that would definitely be for a JPEG. You would save that as a JPEG. If you had something like a vector image, a vector graphic, say a logo, you would want to save that as a GIF. The reason being is that for JPEGs, you would have all this gradient information. Oops, excuse me. If I zoom in, you can see all this different pixel detail. That is perfectly for JPEG. That's the perfect file format. For GIF, that's going to be more solid colors, and that's generally going to be your vector graphics such as logos and icons and that kind of thing. Now a GIF does have the ability to have a transparency. So you can see I have this white background, but if I take this off and I save this, what I can do is I can save that as a GIF, and that could be for a transparent background if you're going to be putting it on a website. So if I'm going to save for web, I would go to Save for Web. So that's going to be File. Oops, let me cancel out of this for a second. File and then Save for Web. Now you can get to that in a few different ways. You can go to File and then you could go to Export and you have Save for Web. Now when I go to this graphic, this dialog box, you can see, if I kind of pull this out a little bit so you can see the full image, you have your preset, and then you have the format that you want to save it out at. You can save it as a GIF, and you can see this transparency show up. And you also have the ability to save it as a JPEG and a PNG. Now you also have File, Save As, Export, and you can go to Export As, and it gives you a similar dialog box, and you can choose the JPEG, GIF, or SVG. And that's generally going to be if you're going to have a logo and you want to be able to put it on the web. That's definitely something you would use for SVG.